My name is Mihn T, and my Instagram handle is this Mihn T moment. I was born in Vietnam, but I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C. After graduation from architecture school, I realized that my true passion has always been in the arts, and so I went into graphic design, where I worked for about 10 years as a graphic designer. But when Instagram started, I started looking in, was very intrigued by it, and so I started just sort of observing people, following people, but I was not posting. I opened an anonymous account, and I call it this Mihn T moment. What really took off for me was the architecture imagery, and that really struck a chord with my audience. I discovered what I really love to do was finding locations that are undiscovered, that are kind of neglected, and that is a recurring theme in my work. So that sort of became like a passion to find these places and to give it a second life. I'm more interested in a place for my stories. So obviously architecture, a building is a natural place to have a story. I also love to take pictures of nature or portraits as well. Of some place that exists in the future or in the present or in the past, I'm not quite sure what it is. I wanted to capture this feeling of somewhere else so that you can escape into and sort of get lost in. I also want us to convey a sense of contemplation and of purity. Usually these locations or these places are very kind of mundane, normal things. But when you have a certain light hitting it, it just sort of transforms, it becomes something else. And that sense of beauty can be found in anything, and so that's what I want to convey in my imagery. I think photography gear is not as important as the photographer, obviously. All the cameras on the market right now are really good, and they can probably capture anything that people want to do. Personally, I shoot with a Sony, but I have shot with Canon also. Sony is great because it can be really small, and it can also shoot silent, which is great in my work because I sort of go undercover and guerrilla style. I think the field of photography has changed so much in the last 5–10 years, especially with the advent of social media. Photography is no longer necessary to document or to depict real life. You can create another world. It doesn't have to be real. It's about an image, it's about a feeling, so it doesn't necessarily have to be constrained by that it has to depict reality. One of my favorite work that I shot recently is of this place that I sort of stumbled onto, and it actually has a lot of colors. When I posted this image, I got a huge response from my audience because finally I showed some colors in my work. And that was sort of like the signal of a start for me to kind of explore that part of me more and not simply just stick to monochromatic imagery. If I could go back in time and tell myself what I could do better, it would be to really commit to what I'm doing. Say if I'm going to post on Instagram, I have to commit to doing it regularly. Another advice that I could give is to not be a jack of all trades, to have a point of view. If you're starting out, try to pick a subject or a style or a topic that you really love, that you're really interested in, and really delve deep into it. And one of the more important advice that was given to me that really improved my photography is to see instead of look. Looking, you're just sort of glancing around, but seeing, you're just sort of seeing with intention and trying to find something within that moment. And I think once I learned to see instead of look, it really transformed my work. And I think that simple advice really changed my work.